The heartbreaking truth behind being kicked out for family lies. I was 48, a hospice nurse, still wearing my navy scrubs when Margot shoved a manila envelope against my chest. The porch light at 17, Petrel Lane hummed and drew moths. Inside the envelope was a printed text thread labeled Family, Saturday, time-stamped March 12, 2022, 6:41 p.m., where Margot claimed I'd stolen Mother's hydromorphone. Beneath it lay a notice of trespass, Graybridge Police Incident hashtag 22-3117, signed 7:03 p.m., with my name spelled in thick block letters. I held up my work badge, Owen Lark, RN, but the badge didn't argue back. Mother's front window reflected my face like I was already a stranger. The calendar inside showed March in block caps with a square around the 15th. Dr. Betts Labs, 10:30. I'd made that note, blue felt tip, the way I always did. You told them I stole from her? I asked. Margot's mouth twitched. You signed for deliveries, she said. You had access. Pattern interrupt. The officer handed me a thin receipt. Property Control Form PCF, 311. Itemizing one blister pack from Green Harbor Pharmacy. Lot hashtag GH. 8321. Counted and sealed. I had never touched it. I scrolled to my voicemail and opened the one from 5:12 p.m. saved as VM_2022-03-12_1712. M4A. Mother's voice, brittle. Owen, bring the lemon biscuits, please. No mention of meds. I showed the officer the timestamp. He shrugged, tapping his Bodycam. Axon file 22-3117, B2. Like the lens could explain my life. You're not coming in, Margot said, sliding a new brass key into the deadbolt. She wore the pearl studs father gave her in 2001. The pearls flashed as the lock turned, final as a gavel. Mom needs rest. I set my overnight bag on the step. The bag's side pocket held a folded copy of Mother's pain log I updated daily. March 11th, 2022, 10 milligrams, 9 p.m., pain 7-4. My penmanship was steady. Why now? I asked. She smiled without warmth and lifted her phone. The group chat Karen's siblings pinged. A screenshot glowed with the words he's out. Then the porch camera blinked red, and Margot whispered, You aren't family tonight. I stepped back as the door closed, and the chain slid home like a verdict pronouncing guilt. The deadbolt clicked, and a new lie locked me onto the street. I walked to my Subaru and sat with the heater humming, the trespass paper open under the dome light. The past flickered up like a film reel catching fire. Thanksgiving 2014. Margot helped balance Mother's checkbook when Father was in rehab for his hip. I'd found a torn stub, check number 1183, dated November 28, 2014, $1, 200 to Glenmere Services, Memo Consulting. Mother never hired consultants. I'd snapped a photo then on my old Samsung. The EXIF read November 28, 2014, 21:06 and 44 seconds, location pinned to the dining room. I told myself it was nothing. Pattern interrupt. My inbox held an unread, dusty email thread. Subject, Wells policy change. From December 3, 2014, archived and ignored. The attached PDF, writer_addendum_gel_2014. PDF, or a digital watermark. Finch and Callow LLP, client copy. I remembered Father's pen scrawls, Windsor blue, along the margins. Ask about survivorship. I hadn't asked. I texted Theo Bram, my neighbor and friend who never let me varnish the truth. Got thrown out. Accused of theft. I'm in the car. He replied in seconds. Come over. Bring papers. Across Petrel Lane, the upstairs light in Mother's sewing room glowed on the dress form. She used to pin my sleeves there before school. I had always chosen silence over conflict, dignity over noise. But dignity without a voice is just vanishing. In my glove compartment, under car manuals, I found a folded property tax statement. Town of Graybridge, FI 2015, parcel hashtag GR 217. A. Stamp paid April 30th, 2015. The payer name read, Lark Family Care Trust, not Jane Lark. Father had never mentioned a trust. My nurse's watch ticked so loud it felt like someone else's heartbeat. Theo called. You look at the police times? He asked. Who reported exactly? I scanned the trespass form. Caller, M. Hensley. Relationship, daughter. The space for owner's signature was blank. I wrote the date in my notebook anyway. March 12th, 2022. I sat under the whispering pines and opened that old Wells email, and the line that once seemed boring now burned. The addendum named a trust I'd never been told even existed. Theo's kitchen smelled of coffee and lemon cleaner. He slid me a legal pad and a Sharpie, his way of saying, build a map. I taped down artifacts. The trespass notice, hashtag 22-3117. The property tax statement, parcel hashtag GR217A. And a printed screenshot of the family chat, Karen's siblings, from 6:41 p.m. showing Margot's line. He took it. I'm calling. The file name at the bottom, IMG_202-20312_1841. PNG felt like a thin wrist to pull. Pattern interrupt. Theo queued up his doorbell app. My Arlo logs everything, he said, tapping March 12th, 2022, 1846. The clip, 202031-846-front. MP4, showed Margot on his porch, not Mother's, rehearsing into her phone. Yes, officer, he has the keys. She checked notes on a folded paper titled Timeline. Why would she need a script? Theo asked. I wrote a box on the pad. Staged call? Next, I opened Graybridge County's online recorder. Parcel search brought up 17, Petrel Lane, GR 217A. Deed Book 1442, page 119. Grantee, Lark Family Care Trust. Date recorded, April 3, 2015. I printed the page. At the bottom right a faint seal said, recorded by Alma R. Deputy Clerk. Alma R. was an actual human who might remember. Artifact 2. My bank app. Account ending 4492. Lark Care Trust. Distributions. On May 1, 2015. Transfer to Hensley Escrow. $38,000. Memo. Roof repairs. Margot married Ben Hensley in 2013. Why was our trust paying her escrow? I took a screenshot. The app stamped it saved. March 13, 22, 8:12. Call Alma, Theo said, and back up your phone. He plugged in a USB drive labeled Bram Archive, and we saved the Arlo clip, the bank screenshots, the recorder printout. The folder name, Owen Case March, felt premature and necessary. Imagine if we're wrong, I said. Theo tapped the Sharpie. Then the truth will clear you. He drew a circle around 2014 Wells addendum and another around 2015 deed. The lines crossed over my hands. A plan formed because paper left us no polite exits anymore. By 10, I'd showered and borrowed Theo's flannel. He brewed fresh coffee and asked the question I'd avoided. What if this isn't only about pills? His finger hovered over the trust distribution to Hensley Escrow. What if it's about money and control? Pattern interrupt. My phone buzzed with a voicemail from my hospice supervisor, timestamped March 13, 2022, 9:14. Owen, a family member reported a medication concern. HR needs to review. Paid administrative leave starting today. The attachment auto-saved as VM_2022-03-13_0914. M4A. My job was now in the blast zone. I printed our sibling chat history. On January 2, 2019, Margot had written, "We should streamline mom's finances." The word streamline was in quotes. File name, chat export _2019-01-02. PDF. A reply from me, short, ask mom. A reply from her. You always make this harder. Margot hated friction. She loved authority. Theo poured coffee into a mug with a chip. You think she's aiming to be executor? I opened a PDF from Finch and Callow's site, Probate Basics, and highlighted Executor Controls Estate Distributions. Margot once told me, half laughing, that old paper could be coached. Artifact 2. A crisp white envelope I'd kept from father's things. Finch and Callow LLP. Statement. Client. Jane Lark. Invoice hashtag FC. 7739. Date. November 21, 2014. Line item. Will review and codicil for $150. That paired too neatly with check number 1183 to Glenmere Services on November 28, 2014. I took photos, my phone auto-naming them IMG_031322_1012, JPG and IMG_031322_1013. JPG. Call the clerk, Theo said. Ask for the will file. He handed me his landline. I dialed Graybridge Probate, pressed 2 for records. Deputy Clerk Alma Rivera, a tidy voice said. Docket number? I hadn't one. Jane Lark, well recorded 2014, possibly amended. Keyboard clicks, a pause. Docket 14, PR 0773, Alma read. A will lodged April 7, 2014. A codicil reviewed December 5, 2014. You can request certified copies. Theo mouthed, second motive, inheritance. My throat went dry, but the path demanded walking. If Margot needed theft to discredit me, probate power might be the prize. The probate office smelled like toner and old glue. Alma Rivera wore a cardigan the color of hydrangeas and greeted me with an efficiency that still felt kind. You're the son? She asked. Owen, I said. I need to see docket 14, PR 0773. She slid a file across the counter. Artifact 1. Last will and testament of Jane Lark. First page bearing a faint black stamp, received. April 7, 2014, Graybridge Probate. The notary block listed Glenmere Notary Services, seal number 22781. The codicil, December 5, 2014, included a note. Change of specific bequest. House to be held in trust for Margot's use. Margot's use, not ownership. My stomach tightened. Pattern interrupt? Alma leaned in. Funny thing, she whispered. We had a second copy come through in 2019. Same first page, but the notary seal was grayscale, not embossed. I rejected it. She pointed to a pale, sticky note in the file. Attempted substitution, March 18, 2019, AR. Artifact 2. Rejection notice, document Ref 19, SUB 041, mailed to submitter M. Hensley, 22, Butternut Court. I wrote down the address. Butternut Court was Margot's cul-de-sac. Why would she submit a new copy? I asked. Alma's eyes creased. Sometimes people misplace originals, she said, neutral as a ledger, or try to improve their position. I paid for certified copies. Alma's receipt, hashtag R99211, dated March 14, 2022, 11/22, printed with a blue watermark, County of Graybridge. She slid an index card to me. If documents don't match, check watermarks and seals. Originals feel like they were pressed into the paper. Back at Theo's, I spread the copies beside my 2014 check number 1183 photo and the Finch and Callow invoice. The dates made a chain. April will, November invoice, December codicil, April 2015 deed into trust. Theo murmured, if the codicil said use, why is Margot acting like owner? He pulled up the county recorder again. The 2015 deed named the trust, not Margot. Under consideration, it said $100 in love. But in the doc margin, a faint entry. Escrow hashtag HEN 2015-042, linked to Hensley Escrow. I wrote, in large letters across the legal pad, what did she try to swap in 2019? I took a breath before stepping into the mirror. For years, I told myself I was keeping peace, but I'd also been keeping quiet. Artifact 1. My 2016 journal, a black moleskine with OL, stamped at the corner, December 1st entry. Margot says we shouldn't burden Mom with choices. I let it slide. I copied the page, the press of my own handwriting oddly accusing. Pattern interrupt. Theo dragged a cardboard box from my basement storage, old files I never sorted. Inside was a blue folder marked Trust 4492 Disbursements. Artifact 2. A letter from Penbrook Credit Union dated May 10, 2015, safe deposit box rental, box 42, annual fee paid, in mother's name. A sticky note in my blocky letters read, key taped under Singer machine table. You wrote that, Theo said, pointing. My nurse brain cataloged details to care for others. My son brain forgot to care for myself. I had hidden a key years ago and never asked why mother needed a box. We drove to the house at dusk. The porch camera blinked red again. I crouched at the basement window where mother used to hand me extra quilts after late shifts. The singer table sat in its corner by the window. Oak, scuffed, loyal. I slid my hand under the lip of the table. Tape caught my fingertip. The key was cool and small, stamped Pen 42. My breath shook. A motion light flared. I froze. Owen, a figure stepped from the hedge. It was our neighbor, Mrs. Dalrymple, holding a sack of oranges. I didn't see you, she said. Margot told me you ran off. She handed me a wrinkled envelope. This came to me by mistake. Looks legal. Artifact 3. Notice of annual filing. Trustee. Lark Family Care Trust. Dated March 1st, 2022. Addressed to 17 Petrel Lane. Forwarded to 19. She'd circled Trustee. M. Hensley. Trustee. I repeated, tasting the word like old metal. If Margot made herself trustee, my silence had been her scaffolding. Penbrook Credit Union was a 2-story brick with a wooden clock, the kind that survives every trend. I signed the access card. Authorized, Owen Lark, using the safe deposit authorization letter mother signed in 2015. Artifact 1. The bank's green ledger copy stamped access. March 15, 2022, 11:06. Box 42. Witness, K. Small. The attendant slid the narrow box onto a table like a coffin for secrets. Inside lay a USB drive labeled Jail Archive, a manila folder Finch and Callow Estate, and a smaller envelope sealed with Mother's Looping J. Pattern interrupt. The USB included a file, Jane-Lark_archive_2014-2016, PST, an Outlook archive. File size, 8 gigabytes. The folder held, lastwill_jail_2014_ PDF, embossed with an oval watermark, Glenmere Notary 22781. Original impression. I laid it beside the probate copy. The embossed seal pressed light through the paper like the moon through thin cloud. The grayscale copy from the file looked flat. Artifact 2. A receipt from Glenmere Notary Services. Invoice #GS. 2014-041. Dated April 5, 2014. Mobile notarization. $75. Paid. Cash. The receipt listed the notary's name. P. Wilkes. Theo plugged the USB into his laptop, extracted the PST, and loaded it into Outlook. Emails populated like snow. We searched Hensley Escrow and Roof. An email dated April 27, 2015, subject, Escrow Transfer Authorization, from M. Hensley Margot at Butternut Court. Com. To J. Lark Janesos at Graymail. Com. CCNG Hensley Escrow Info at Hensley Escrow. Com. It read, per our discussion, please approve $38,000 from the trust for immediate disbursement. Attachment, Hensley_escrow_auth. PDF. Mother's reply, May 1st, 2015, at 8:02. Approved for roof repair only. Keep receipts. Artifact 3. Hensley_escrow_final. Paid_0601. PDF. Stamped. Paid June 1st, 2015. Line item kitchen upgrade. $6 for 100. Roof. Kitchen. It wasn't simply pills. Money bled in quiet print. Alma's card burned my pocket. Originals pressed the page. Copy skimmed it. The envelope with Mother's J crackled between my fingers. I opened the envelope at Theo's table. Inside was a handwritten letter on lined paper, dated January 14, 2019, signed Love, Mom. Artifact 1. Owen, if you're reading this, I've misplaced my will once already. Keep this list. 1. Real will has raised imprint. 2. The trust pays taxes. 3. Margot insists on being efficient. Watch definitions. A postscript in her small script. Give Alma a jar of jam. Pattern interrupt. The archive yielded a draft from Pastor Reeve Rector at St. Agnes. Org. Subject. Letter for Margot. Dated January 12, 2019. With an attachment. Parish. Docs. The text in the email preview. As requested, here's a general character reference. Let me know if you need edits. The file saved on our drive, doc version 1.0. Later, a PDF labeled parish for final. PDF, created January 18, 2019, contained harsher language about my inconsistency. The Word doc had track changes. Margot had inserted sentences. Artifact 2, document properties showed last modified by M. Hensley, January 17, 2019, 2011. Mother's will from the box. Last will _jail 2014 signed. PDF. Included a clause absent in the probate copy. Residue to be divided equally. House held in trust for use by either child until medical need requires sale. Used by either child. Not one. Not forever. Theo leaned back. She tried to replace the will in 2019, edited a pastor's letter, and used trust funds for her kitchen. He tapped the pastor line. That letter smeared you for inconsistency. That word ended up in HR's file last year. I printed both versions, highlighted the differences in yellow. My printer spat the pages into a growing stack named by the computer parish_1. PDF. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. Stop digging. Families forgive. Paper doesn't. Attached, a JPG of the trespass notice. File name, stop_22-3117. JPG. If the real will lived in my hands, the lie had a face now. We asked Mrs. Dalrymple if we could view her doorbell footage. She apped her Arlo base station like she was sending a pie recipe. Artifact 1, 202039483 front door. MP4, view from across the street. It showed Margot walking to Mother's porch at 7:02 with a paper bag, taking it back at 7:04, then dialing. She placed the bag on her passenger seat. At 7:07, patrol car headlights swung into frame. Pattern interrupt. Theo slowed the clip to quarter speed. At 7 hours 3 minutes and 12 seconds, Margot reached under the mat, pulled something, my spare key, and held it to the camera as if for proof. She dropped it into her pocket and mouthed, "Perfect." Artifact 2, Graybridge Police, Incident Detail Report. Hashtag 22-3117. Obtained via online request. Received March 16, 2022, 1420, PDF 3 pages. Under Evidence Collected, it listed 1 blister pack, but the officer's Bodycam Axon log, 22-3117, B2, showed him bagging the pack from the kitchen counter, not my person. We clipped the timestamps. I printed stills, 19-48-03_Arlo_frame_039. JPG, Margot lifting the mat, 19-48-03_Arlo_frame_121. JPG, bag to car. We arranged them with the property tax statement and the trust distribution. Money motive. Staged theft. Smear letter. The narrative cohered with sick logic. I dialed Hensley escrow. A receptionist answered. "We can't discuss clients." "I have receipts," I said. Email, Hensley_escrow_final. Paid_0601. PDF, kitchen upgrade. Please hold. She returned with a tight voice. "We'll forward to counsel." Theo said, "You ready to confront her?" I thumbed the recorder on my phone. File set to autosave as rec_2022-03-16_1603. M4A. I texted Margot, "Meeting tonight. Bring your copy of Mother's will." She replied at 4:07, "My attorney will attend." I placed Mother's letter and the embossed will into a clear sleeve like a heart ready for transplant. The porch light at 17, Petrel Lane would see a different kind of visit. Margot opened the door with a smile meant for photographs. Ben hovered behind her, arms folded. I set my recorder on the hall table. The file name flashed. Rec_2022-03-16_1902. M4A. "You accused me of theft," I said. "Explain your kitchen receipt." I slid Hensley_escrow_final. Paid_0601. PDF, across the table. Line 3, kitchen upgrade, $6, 400, circled in red. Pattern interrupt. Ben blurted, "We had a leak," then glanced at Margot. She looked past me. Mother wanted our home comfortable for the grandchildren, she said. You never had children. The words landed like thrown stones. Artifact 1. I placed Alma's rejection notice, document Ref 19, SUB 041, beside the will with the embossed notary seal. You tried to swap a copy, I said. Alma rejected it. I added the Arlo stills labeled 19-48-03_Arlo_frame_039. JPG and 121. JPG. You staged the call. Her eyes chilled. You're dramatic, she said softly. You always were. Ben took a step back. This is family, he murmured. Artifact 2. I held out Mother's letter, dated January 14th, 2019. She wrote to me about the real will. I said. Margot reached. I pulled it back. Track changes, Margot. I added, sliding the parish _final. PDF, beside the original doc with properties showing last modified by M. Hensley. She said nothing. Theo, behind me, spoke for the first time. You lied to police, he said. Bodycam shows the pack in the kitchen, not on Owen. He held up the incident report, page 2, where suspect possession was left unchecked. Margot's jaw worked. Get out, she whispered. Ben's hand found her elbow. Margot, he said, voice low. What did you submit in 2019? A loud knock broke the triangle of our stair into sharp edges. At the door stood a man with a collar and a briefcase older than my car. I'm Reverend Reeve, he said, stepping in with the certainty of someone used to hospital rooms and last words. He opened the briefcase and pulled out 2 sheets. Artifact 1. Parish _for letter _Janelle. Docs, printed with markup, the original, and parish letter for final. PDF, with inserted lines calling me unreliable. He pointed to the metadata. I keep version logs, he said. Ms. Hensley requested firmer language for HR. I refused to sign that draft. Someone signed the PDF anyway. He set down a sealed envelope stamped with the parish seal and the date March 16th, 2022. Pattern interrupt. My phone buzzed with an email notification from Alma. Subject, additional note, 14, PR 0773. A scan memo appeared. Attempted submission included altered clause, house to Margot outright. No emboss. Artifact 2. Reverend placed a small USB on the table. This contains my sent emails, he said. File, rector_outbox_2019. Zip. He looked at Margot. You asked me to choose sides. I choose the truth. Ben sat down. The chair creaked like a confession. Is any of this illegal? He asked. Reverend held up his palms. I am not counsel. I answered with paper. The embossed will. The trust statement. The Arlo thumbnails. The police incident report. I'm filing a petition to reopen probate, I said, and a complaint to HR with this letter. Margot's fingers drummed the table, tiny earthquakes. You always wanted the house, she said. I shook my head. I wanted the truth to stop bleeding. Reverend's eyes went damp. Ms. Hensley, he said, repentance is cheaper than court. A second knock arrived like a gavel answering prayer or pride. Graybridge PD's records clerk, a woman with a keychain full of lanyards, handed me a DVD in a paper sleeve. Artifact 1. Axon _22-3117B2. MP4. Recorded March 12, 2022. Start 19 hours 10 minutes and 21 seconds. In 19 hours 24 minutes and 40 seconds. The footage showed the officer entering, Mother in her robe, Margot guiding his angle toward the kitchen counter where the blister pack lay. He had access, she repeated. The officer nodded without enthusiasm. The video never showed me. Pattern interrupt. My HR department emailed. Subject, administrative leave terms. Attachment, HR_leave_letter_03162022. PDF, signed by Director N. Keene. Allegation of medication diversion under review. Do not contact patients. My hands shook. Being a hospice nurse was the one place my words always mattered. Artifact 2. I drafted my own letter. Response to allegation. Lark 03172022. Docs. And attached the Axon video and the pastor's sealed statement. I included a medication administration record, MAR, from my last shift with Mother. March 11th, 2022. Hydromorphone 10 milligrams. Admin 2100 hours. RNO Lark. Countersigned by Mother's Home Aid. S. Keating, whose phone number was printed on the March. Theo watched me hit send at 2:08 p.m. I felt like I'd tossed my vocation into a wind that might carry it away. You're choosing paper over paychecks, Theo said. Good. We printed the probate petition form, petition to reopen, Graybridge probate, form PR, R12, filled line by line, attached exhibits. Embossed will copy, Alma's rejection note, trust disbursement records, Arlo stills, Axon transcript. I walked it to the courthouse window. The clerk stamped it, received, March 17, 2022, 2:31 p.m. Docket 14, PR 0773R. At home, I stared at two keys on my ring. My car, Penbrook Box 42. I slipped Box 42's key into an envelope labeled Theo, just in case. The probate courtroom had pews and a ceiling fan with a stubborn whine. Judge Merriweather read our petition with the care of someone checking stitches. Artifact 1. The Minute Order, March 28, 2022, 14, PR 0773R, which I later scanned, shows. Court finds prima facie basis to reopen. Orders evidentiary hearing. Margot's attorney objected, citing family harmony and latches, a delay that prejudices. The judge lifted an eyebrow. Harmony appears aspirational, she said dryly. Pattern interrupt. Alma entered with a rolling cart. She presented the original 2014 will lodged in the vault and a magnifying viewer. She placed the document under the lens. The embossed seal rode up like a mountain range. Original, she said. She then displayed the 2019 submission, flat grayscale, mismatched fonts. Copy, she said. Artifact 2. Clerk's memo, comparative analysis, 3 pages, photos inset, delivered into the record. We played Mrs. Dalrymple's Arlo clip. The judge scribbled notes. So, Miss Hensley, she said, you removed the spare key and called police? Margot's lawyer whispered. Margot answered, I was scared. Of what? The judge asked. He's a nurse, Margot said weakly. He knows drugs. The judge glanced at the Axon transcript showing the blister pack untouched by me. Fear is not proof, she said. The Hensley escrow email chain entered as Exhibit H. The kitchen receipt sat next to it like a nose on a face. House remains in trust for use by either child. The judge read aloud from the original will. Executor to be neutral fiduciary. Her pen tapped the bench. The hearing adjourned with a date for decision. April 4, 2022, 9 a.m. Outside the courthouse, Margot avoided my eyes like the sun. Then Alma touched my sleeve and whispered, There's one more document you haven't seen. In Alma's office, she pulled a slim folder with a red diagonal stripe. Corrective deed inquiry. Artifact 1. A draft deed prepared in 2015 but never recorded. Grantor. Lark Family Care Trust. Grantee. J. Lark Life Estate. Remainder to children equally. With margin note, hold for instruction. In the recorded deed, that clause was missing. A sticky note in a different hand. Slanted, confident, read. M says simplify for lender. Pattern interrupt. Alma produced a cashier's check copy. Penbrook Credit Union cashier's check number 004281. Amount $91,000. Date April 2, 2015. Payee, Graybridge title. Check memo, trust fund distribution per email, March 31st. Attached was an email from Finchett.com to janesos@graymail.com. CC Margot at Butternut Court.com. Subject, use of trust principle. Warning that a large draw would reduce long-term care reserves. Mother had replied, proceed cautiously. Owen agrees. But the archive showed I never received that email. Artifact 2. The header of the email displayed BCC. M. Hensley at workmail.com, and the version forwarded to me months later was redacted. Property purchased using trust funds you didn't know about, Alma said, voice low. And the life estate language was held, then omitted. She stared at the sticky. M says simplify. Theo's face hardened. That's the second motive, he said. Ownership by stealth. I called Finch and Callow. A young associate, voice tight, returned the call with a letter attached. Firm Position Statement, FC, Lark, 2015, PDF, disclaiming involvement in the omission and noting their archived drafts showed the life estate clause intact. He included file draft_deed_life estate_v3. Docs, last modified April 1st, 2015. My body felt like a tightrope stretched over 10 years. I could see the shore, but the wind kept rising. The judge's decision would decide whether the rope held. April 4th, 2022, 9 a.m. Judge Merriweather read for 12 minutes. Artifact 1. Order reopening probate and appointing special administrator. 14. PR 0773. R. Stamped, filed April 4th, 2022, 9/19. Naming an outside fiduciary and voiding any unrecorded amendments after December 5th, 2014. Any attempted substitution of all pages is rejected, it said. Trust distributions inconsistent with approved purposes to be accounted for within 60 days. Artifact 2. Police Administrative Review. Case 22 to 3117. Finding. Insufficient basis for accusation. Signed by Captain J. Wren. Dated April 5th, 2022. Attached to my HR file with a note from Director Keene. Leave lifted. Return to duty April 8th, 2022. Pattern interrupt. The Special Administrator, MS. Kwan, invited us to a closing room with speckled carpet and a fern that had survived better families. She set down 2 envelopes. One held a new key to 17 Petrel Lane. The other contained a letter to Margot demanding accounting for $38,000 and kitchen upgrade, $6 for 100. She would remain beneficiary and user under the will, but not trustee. Margot stared at the table's edge like it might tell her what to say. I was trying to make things simple, she whispered. You made them efficient for yourself, I said. My voice came out level, a tone I'd learned at bedsides when pain crested. You could have asked. You could have told the truth. Reverend Reeve touched her sleeve. Confession is still available, he said. She didn't answer. Ben signed the receipt for the accounting demand with a slow hand. I walked to the house alone. The porch light hummed. On the dining table, dust had traced a map around the absent sewing machine. I placed Mother's letter and the embossed wool under the glass where sunlight could warm them like living things. Then I locked the kitchen drawer where we kept the petty cash, not because I feared theft, but because I was done leaving doors open for lies. The house did not forgive us, but it agreed to let us try. Dignity, I learned, is not silence, but telling the truth carefully until it finally holds.